Yeah.
Brenda. Call the meeting to order at Montcalm County Board of Commissioners, regular meeting for Monday, October 28th. We'll begin with a pledge. Invite you to remain standing for the invocation, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commissioner Peterson, please.
Today we have Pastor Paul Arnold to lead us in prayer.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you that we do live in a country where we have freedom, and we will be able to exercise that freedom next Monday as we vote. And I know that some people have already voted. I pray that in this election and prior to the election, the candidates will be kind with their comments and positive. I also pray for these commissioners as they take up the business of our county today, and that you give them wisdom. We thank you that we do live in a country where we can exercise our freedom of speech. In Christ's name, amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call.
Baker,
Present.
Johnston,
Here.
Peterson,
Yes, ma'am.
Painter,
Here.
Mahar, Carr,
Yes.
Moran.
Here. We have a quorum. Everyone have a copy of the agenda. I have one change that everyone probably noted in their packet. The 4:35 agenda item is canceled. The treasurer for the wage study, she is canceled. I don't have any other changes. Does anyone else?
Chair.
Commissioner Johnston?
I move to approve our agenda as amended. Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the agenda as amended. Discussion? If there's no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On the meeting minutes, everyone have a copy of the meeting minutes, the last regular meeting, October 14th, 2024.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Johnston?
I'd move to approve our regular meeting minutes from October 14th, 2024 as presented.
Support. It's been moved and supported to approve the meeting minutes of the last regular meeting, Monday, October 14th, 2024 as presented. Discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Public comments? Yes, sir. Yes, please.
August 9, 2023, Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, along with Grady Judge, Sheriff of Polk County, Sheriff Wayne Ivory, I don't know how to pronounce the county, and Attorney General Ashley Moody held a press conference. Governor DeSantis announced the suspension of State Attorney Monique Wardell of the Ninth Judicial Court. He said in a statement, Florida is a law and order state. Prosecutors have a duty to faithfully enforce the laws. One political agenda cannot trump this solemn duty. Refusing to enforce the laws of Florida puts the communities in danger and victimizes innocent citizens. Prosecutors do have a certain amount of discretion about which case to bring and which to not. He cited a couple of cases, and I mentioned Dayton was arrested 323 while on probation for another offense back in 2022. He was let out on bond and shot 2 police officers in the face. Ashley Moody came up, spoke. The job that she was elected to was simple: protect the public by prosecuting people. The job she was elected to is not to be a legislator or a judge. She is a prosecutor that swore to prosecute those who violate the law. There are 2 stages with the imperative to separate dangerous criminals from the community. Once a dangerous criminal is arrested before they go to trial, what we have in Florida is called a pre-trial detention. And that has to have a motion from the state attorney. And after they're convicted and sentenced, then that's the second step that keeps them away from the community. She goes on to detail that pretrial detainments were not filed, and that has to be done in order for the judge to set bond. Also, she states that some cases suspects were undercharged. She cites figures generally 40% of all those arrested charges were dismissed or not charged. So, Sheriff Grady Judge, he spoke. And what had happened was, after these two deputies were shot in the face, they wrote a letter to the governor requesting the removal of this person that was an elected official. And that's, I believe, what you have to do in Michigan if you want to remove somebody. Now, my concern is you're bringing in a new prosecutor and you're having this, what do you call it, a turntable around, people walking in and out of the door of the prosecutor's office. And I want to make sure it's fully staffed. We have 400 felonies. We need to protect the community. We got a double homicide has been solved. They're not on the sheriff or anything like that. I just want to make sure we staff it, the prosecutor's office. That's it.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Clayton Thomas, Lycombe Township. Here today to inquire on the status of my retirement. As I'm sure all of you have been made aware, there is a memo circulating that states that at the time of my retirement, the sheriff decided to fire me. After speaking with all my union representatives, none of them, including myself, ever remember seeing this memo or receiving it. Deputy Katinko reviewed all union personnel files with nothing being found. I spoke with Deputy Katinko at length, and the definite conclusion is that the meeting with the sheriff at the time of my retirement was amicable. The general point of the meeting was that I was retiring due to my medical conditions, and I didn't want to hold up an open position within the department, that I was not quitting or being fired. I left with the feeling that I could end my career on a positive note. Then I was presented with this memo, not by the county or by the sheriff, but by the Daily News 5 years after the fact. To say I was blindsided is an understatement. Is this a common practice for the sheriff's department or the county to fire employees due to medical disability? If this was Deputy Katinko, who was shot in the line of duty and was not able to return to work within a year, would he have been fired? I'm curious what the difference would be, except my injury occurred outside of work. Within the county policy and procedure or the union contract does not state anywhere what happens if an employee cannot return within a year. Status change form, which I received from Human Resources, states that there's only 3 options: a change, termination, or a new hire. As advised by HR, the section is filled out by the department head and they choose the vernacular. Is everyone that retires or resigns terminated within the sheriff's department? Have the last 5 deputies that resigned to start new careers, were they terminated? As I stated before, this is a simple gesture of gratitude that has been given to every deputy that has resigned or retired with varying years of service since I've been working in the county. If this is in fact a personal issue that the sheriff has, that the board has alluded to, not me, why is the department head allowed to use his position of authority to resolve his personal issue using the guise of official business? I have thoroughly read the county policy and contract. Nowhere does it state that if after 1 year of leave, does an employee have to resign, quit, retire, or get fired. It only states that an employee must return. I did find a section labeled Code of Conduct. That has a lot of subsections where the main point is not using an official position for personal business. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Hearing no other public comments, our 405 agenda item, we have representatives from the Road Commission with us to discuss the township road funding request. Mark and Rob and a couple of honored, distinguished road commissioners with us too, I guess.
Elizabeth, she'll want a copy.
Good afternoon.
On behalf of the Board of County Road Commissioners, I'd like to thank the county board for the opportunity to attend today and share some thoughts and ideas. Before we get to that, I have a couple thoughts to share. First and foremost is my upcoming retirement plan. I will be retiring sometime in the next few months. And today I'd like to introduce Rob Putnam. Many of you know him already. He will be replacing me when I retire. I have all the confidence in the future of the Road Commission with Rob in the manager's position. I've also committed to the board at the Road Commission to do anything I could do to help in the year of transition. I think it's important to have some knowledge in the back of my head to share that I haven't shared already, and my phone will be available for the transition. I think that will work well. I also want to take this time to thank Brenda and the county board. The relationship and the partnership over the last few years have been great, from the fuel station build together to helping out the grounds department or whatever it might be. This relationship is good, and want to say thank you. So I also want to give a shout out to other departments in the county, whether it's the sheriff's department, the drain commissioner, EMS, and even, like I said, the grounds department. We work very well together in this county. When you listen to horror stories in some of the other counties, it's not always that good. So I think we do this at a high level for the support of our customers. We're all serving the same customer at the end of the day. So today we're here to talk about local road funding proposal, which I have in front of you, and I think you had that in your board packet. I think I got it to Brenda quick enough. In Macomb County, we have 1,125 miles of local/township roads that we partner with our townships to maintain and repair throughout the year. Even with combined funds of the Road Commission and the townships, there's always more work to do. Chris, you're a longtime township supervisor. It was always a challenge to pick the right roads and spend our money in the most effective way. So, and I'll spend a few minutes on the presentation or the proposal I sent you. So you can see on the second page, township road work and infrastructure needs. It's not just the surface we drive on every day and we see, but there's a picture of a culvert, and I'm not going to tell you which culvert or which township that's in, but sometimes we have to get creative and make repairs. And there's some road signs on top of a failed culvert with some other stabilization above that. That culvert's a challenging one because Eagle will not let us put a culvert back in, and it becomes $1 million bridge in a township. Those are the kinds of things you see we see behind the scenes that most people don't see when you drive on them. So lots of challenges there. The next page talks about local road pacer ratings, and Chris and I have talked about this over the years. We rate the surface condition of all our blacktops in our counties every year, we use that as a metric to show progress, or should we do more? So you can see since 2001, we start to tick up. It takes a lot of money to tick those road numbers up, but we're in the good and fair category, on the bottom of the good and fair, but we're in the good and fair. The goal would be to get that magic number 8 in the good category on all our roads, but it's a huge investment. So we keep working away, and proud to be able to increase that. When you look at the primary road system, we've backed off a little bit on pacer ratings. Not a great thing, but we're still in a good position. But if you go to your very last page of that, what I've got with you there, the spreadsheet, and I'll explain why our primary road work or primary pacer ratings have gone backwards a little bit. In the column very to the right, down in the last 2 boxes, the Road Commission could see the need on the local road system. So in the last 2 years, we put $1.8 million into the local road system out of our county primary road budget to help offset those costs and make improvements. So while we make a bigger investment on the local system, and those numbers go up, you start to see our county primary numbers go down. So there's that in a nutshell. If the county would spend some of their unreserved fund balance and help the local road system, the Road Commission is willing to be part of that too. So just remember that if you do that, any contribution that you would put toward the Road Commission, we would give 100% of that to the townships in a match. If it was $1 million, $50,000 to each township. In the process too, then the Road Commission will cover the labor and equipment charges to provide those services. So this contribution from the county board would be for the materials only used, not the Road Commission labor or equipment that comes into play when we do those jobs. So you're buying the gravel, you're buying a blacktop, you're buying whatever those processes may be. So you could look at that for $1 million. That would be a half a mile of new asphalt overlay in each township. 2 miles of chip seal, 3/4 of a mile of limestone gravel, or 2.5 miles of natural gravel in each township that would receive those dollars. The other thing, the next page, if the county board would be gracious enough to give us $2 million, that would go out to $100,000 per township, which would include the following fixes in that, for that expenditure. Most townships will budget $100,000+ annually, so it would double their local road program in every respective township in the county for the coming year. And the road commission is committed for whatever amount of labor and equipment match to do. It's not that we're gonna run out of money to do that. We'll pull a project off of county primary to make sure these road work jobs are done. So, just think on the next page, $2 million countywide improvement would be 20 miles of new asphalt, and that would reach 5% of that local road system. There's 408 miles of local blacktops in our township. So if every township chose a mile of new blacktop, that's 5% of the system that would be touched. 80 miles of chip seal, we'd need to take care of those good blacktops too, would be 19% of the local road system that would be touched if every ounce of it went to that. If we did natural gravel, 14% of our gravel roads would be touched. We have 717 miles of gravel roads in Montcalm County. So just some facts and things to look at. And on the last page, we're back to the spreadsheet. You can see since 1987, the road commission has spent $31,337,000 more on local roads than it's taken in through the MTF or the Michigan Transportation Fund. So every year we're trying to do more and help our townships at any way we can. And it comes from our county primary road fund when we do that. Legally, we can transfer that up to 50% of that county MTF money that comes to our townships. So we're not at that at 1.8, but we still have other work we need to do. So questions for me, that's that in a nutshell. One anomaly, if you look at the 23 number, the first column, local road revenues, you see that's substantially higher at 7.329 million. There were 2 local bridges repaired that year, and we received 95% of that funding from the federal government to do that. So that's why that number looks skewed a little bit at a $3 million increase. So when we get local road money for bridges, it makes that pot go up. So that's all I really have. So questions from the board?
Mark, just to be clear, those 4 bullet points, are those, every one of those happens for the $2 million or one of the 4?
Let me look back, Pat, on the 2 million.
I think it's a
One of,
or not a.
all right, so the $2 million per township, it will get you 1 mile of blacktop, or 4 miles of chip seal, or 1.5 miles of limestone gravel, or 5 miles of new gravel per township.
Yeah, very good.
Yep. And on the next one, it would give you the same thing. If
Yep.
you did spend it all on blacktop, it's 20 miles. So,
Yep.
and there will be I don't want to call it hodgepodge. There will be different opinions and ideas from the townships. Our goal would be to not allow a township to use this on dust control. They have a dust control budget. We want improvements made to the traveling system, the road system in the county. They're going to buy township or chloride no matter what. We want to see the improvements with these dollars if you choose to do
Makes
it.
sense. Anyone have any questions for these guys? Matt?
Yeah, is this assuming that the townships are also putting in matching funds
No,
essentially?
this is going to be, other years we've done matching. If we had some of the ARPA money, if the township did $25,000, we would do 20, or however that rolled out, but there was always matching. This will be, in our opinion today, the first $100,000 worth of road work that comes in from that township will credit that down from these dollars. So no matching on our end or request to match. It's a pain for us to do that. It works. It forces townships to come to the table and be part of that. But our township people are very good at spending money on roads, and we don't think we need to put that carrot out there to get them to open the checkbook and do it. We're pretty confident they'll spend their revenue too. So.
Clear, Matt?
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Peterson?
I guess when I was thinking through this plan, in my mind, it was going to be matching because I guess I don't, if we're going to pledge this money to the road, to improving county roads, and you say, okay, we're going to take the first $100,000 right off. Well, I'm not saying that any township would, but they could say, oh, well, we've already done our 100,000 of township road maintenance. We're going to use this for a new pickleball court or, you know, something like that. I guess it's, I think to make it at least able for me to digest it, it would have to be, we would be spending that money to
Encourage
help
others.
them improve roads.
I think as, from my seat at the road commission, if it's going to be matching, I think we can make that happen. We would restructure that a little bit. And here's what I'm going to say then. If a township, if they'll use Montcalm, for example, for some reason bought a fire truck, their road funds were a little bit limited that year, then maybe we would roll that in. So if they could spend $60,000 on roads, maybe we would hold that 40 into the next year and match it into the next year then. If a matching program is important, most will spend 18 of the 20. I can guarantee you would match 100,000. There might be a couple that struggle to get there. But I guess we at the road commission would be willing to hold those additional dollars to the next year.
And that
made the
would
comfort
make
level.
sense. That would make sense as far as, you know, if some of the townships can't afford $100,000 right off the bat, that is fine with me.
Most will. I can see two that would be a maybe.
Right. But
If
I guess that's where I was headed with it is I thought that it was going to be, if we're giving out $2 million, 100,000 per township, they match it. So we're getting $200,000 worth of road work done in each township. So it looks, you know, we're getting twice as much done as we normally would.
I
guess
can
that
support
was-
that and I can support it and we can definitely work through that process to make it work. If the ones that would be a little short on funds, we could hold that into the next year and allow them to match it into the following year. I'm 100%. We can make that happen.
As far as 100,000, is that manageable for most townships? I know in Montcalm,
most are.
that's
Most
about the
are.
same.
Most are.
Yeah.
And you can see from the expenditures, it crowds up over $2 million annually. Some spend a little more, a little bit less. It's manageable for 18 of the 20, I would say, sitting here with the history and knowledge I have of township work.
So if this goes through and the board votes to give, you know, some of our fund balance to the road commission, how is that disseminated through the townships? Do you guys go to them or send them an email? What?
Let's talk about that a little bit. So and I don't know when your decision-making time is going to be at the county board to do these, to spend these dollars. We meet with our townships in December. Each township comes to the road commission. We talk about challenges, the coming year. It would be nice to know somewhere that mid-December so we could share that and start to build the plan. I mean, if we're going to do an extra 50 miles of chip seal somewhere in the county, I'm buying that aggregate right now and putting it in a pile because it gets very tight in the spring to be able to get that. So for planning at the road commission, the sooner the better. If we could know by December, and I don't know how that works in your schedule, that would be ideal. So we could share that with townships then we start to meet with them individually. Rob, I always had done that. Rob will be doing that depending on my retirement date, and then we'll build that plan accordingly. So, and they generally start their budget year April 1st, so it gives them time to work in. Construction season starts, and we move forward. So,
All right, I guess last question: are they going to fly the flag at half mast when you walk out the door at the road commission? Or?
some will probably clap,
It could be.
but no, it's been a good career, folks.
How many years
I
have
mean,
you been there?
27.
Okay.
February. So it's been good. You know, but all good things have to come to an end too.
Mhm.
And Rob will do a great job. And, you know, I'm going to be there for a call. There will be some things that come up and he's going to say, how did Christensen ever do this? And he'll make the call.
Or
I'll
he'll
be
say,
glad to
why
help.
did Christian?
Or why? Yeah. Or why didn't he do this?
Right.
Maybe one of those
Mhm.
three. But no, we built a great team at the road commission. I've got to shout out to the board. I mean, we've worked hard. We've done a lot of good things, and you can see the improvements. The last 2 summers, I've had a lot of comments to me personally that said, Mark, I can't drive anywhere in this county without running into road work. And I think you guys can see that too in your travels. So that's not me. That's not Rob. That's the team and the board. So good choices and move forward.
Anyone else have any questions? I just conferred with the controller. I'd forgotten. She reminded me at our first meeting in November, we're going to discuss the 4 proposals that we've got and vote on it then. So
Okay.
we'll have an answer for you shortly.
Would you like me to come back at November in case you have questions?
Up to you.
I
Wouldn't hurt if you were in the audience.
Okay, we can do that. We can do that.
Anyone else have any questions for him tonight? All right,
And most of you have my number if you need it. I'm more than willing to answer the call. So,
thanks, guys.
all right, thank you all.
Our 420, Tammy Warner's with us with the last of our 4 requests, Montcalm Care Network, so. Welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Well, I think I gave a short explanation of it, of why Montcalm Care Network is seeking an additional building. So we're not leaving Stanton. We just want to expand or continue to have our presence in Greenville. So a couple of points that I wanted to make, I guess, to kind of set the framework. So one, even though Montcalm Care Network seems somewhat independent, we are a county, an offshoot of the county. So back in 1966, this Board of Commissioners created the Community Mental Health Agency. In 1998, Montcalm Care Network spun off as a standalone governmental entity because the state had moved to managed care. It shielded the county from the risk of the services that are provided. So we spun off Montcalm Care Network and became a governmental entity, but we still are tied to the county in that all of you appoint our board of directors. You have the ability to have up to 4 commissioners on our board of directors if ever you felt like we were going in the wrong direction. So we are tied together. We are still part of the county in providing services. So I think that's an important connection that we do have this public county and state public mental health system. Number 2, I guess the point that I would want to make is the importance of the services remaining in Stanton, but also in Greenville. We kind of have an odd county in that the county seat is centrally located, but our largest populations are in Greenville. So while we have a small presence in Greenville with a small service office, we want to make sure that we can continue to meet the needs of that community and not requiring them to have to drive to Stanton. So we think it's important that we maintain that presence in Greenville, but also here in Stanton to be centrally located. Most of our services, about 85%, are community-based out in the community. We go to people's homes or wherever they are to provide the services, but there is that still outpatient psychiatric medication-assisted services that are in office where people do have to come see us for those. So it's important that we want to be in both locations. It's also important to note that why can we not fund our own building is because as a public mental health system, our system is set up, we get a capitated amount of money. So we get a pot of money. We have to provide all the services for the people in Montcalm County. The state does not allow us to retain any of those services or any of those funds. So if we don't provide services, those funds go back to the regional entity and then go back to the state. The regional entity, Mid-State Health Network, is the one that retains the risk pools. So if we have money left over, it first goes to fund those risk reserves. Up to 7.5% is what we're allowed to retain, and the rest of it goes back. So during the pandemic, when Montcalm Care Network's Medicaid rolls in the county, everybody got on Medicaid, our funding went through the roof. We lapsed lots of money back to the state or back to our region and back to the state. That was a responsible thing to do. We weren't going to spend money just to spend money. And so the services were provided, but the money that wasn't spent went back. So we don't have the ability to maintain a pool of funds for a building purchase. We did a lot of research on what were our space needs. We had some help with that. So we did a space needs assessment and what we need. We looked at private sector leasing and buildings. It's very expensive. They're more than happy to accommodate us, but the price tag on that is huge. And every dollar that we spend on facilities or a lease is a dollar that doesn't go into the services. So ultimately, we would like to be able to purchase a building so that way it doesn't continue to drain on our services year after year after year. And so the idea is coming to the county is asking for your help. So we see that there are 2 potential options. One would be that you help to fund a building purchase when one becomes available and we find something in that 1.5 million price range. We're comfortable with that within our mental health services budget to be able to afford that. The other option, if you don't feel that you can provide those funds, would then be to look at the current existing building that Montcalm Care Network funded and paid off. But at the time, we weren't allowed to retain property or own property. So it continued to be titled and held by the county. So if we can't do something within the funds that you have, then our second request would be, could we do something to where we could get title of the building in order to get a loan to get a building? So that we can expand services. So I noted in there, we've more than doubled services. The demand for mental health care has not stopped post-pandemic. This year, we'll serve more than 3,000 individuals and children and families in our county. And we anticipate that continues to grow. And we want to be able to have the office space that's needed without just continuing to add small offices here, there, and everywhere, because that's just not efficient to have. Right now, we have 3 leased office spaces in Greenville because we have not been able to find one large space, and we're running out of space here in Stanton. So we've been pushing more administration to the Greenville offices. And so just really trying to be thoughtful about where we're headed. We want to become a certified community behavioral health clinic, which would allow us to serve more people. And we know that's going to expand our office-based services because then it allows us to serve that mild to moderate population in our outpatient clinics, and those are office-based, so we know we will have growth, but we can't move to that model of providing more care for people until we have more space. So we continue to keep an eye out in the Greenville area for office buildings. We don't have one set in stone yet, but we would like to have the ability to purchase if something became available.
Okay. Anyone have any questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
Tammy, I know when we had met before that the Cherry Health Building was in your scope, I guess. Is that still an option, or is that?
I would be very interested when the time comes, but currently they're occupying it and they don't have any, it's not listed, so it's not available currently.
So essentially, we would be allocating 1.5 million to you for a building that consequently doesn't exist. You don't know where that 1.5 would go.
Well, I wouldn't ask for the money yet, just that you earmark it so that when we do come up with an opportunity, that we would be able to move on it and purchase it.
And what does that time frame look like?
I would like to have had a new building by next September 2026 or 2025 in order to start being a CCBHC. I don't know that that's going to happen because there just currently isn't a building available. But that was my goal originally, so that we could start the CCBHC. So we did not sign on this year to start next fall. But in January, we'll start firing up again to get ready for CCBHC by October of 2026.
So essentially, you just want us to pledge the money towards this cost and see what you can make out of it.
Yes. And then that way, if properties come up, if we can renovate it and get it done in the 1.5, we'd be good to go. If an existing building comes up and it fits the budget and fits our needs, then we could jump on that just to be ready.
And one caveat to this, when we met before, this was going to be the county would own it and you would effectively pay us to lease the building.
Correct. Lease to pay it off.
Right. So we would essentially be giving you this money at a no interest loan and you would be paying us back for it.
Correct. And then you retain the property at the end.
Right.
And we maintain it throughout as we do our current building.
Right.
So no cost to the county, but we maintain it.
There's a cost, but just a recoup as
Pay it all back. Yes.
right.
In one spot in here, it talks about that lease ending when the building is paid for. I don't know that we were clear on that in the past. Is that a typo or is that a new plan?
That's how we had handled the current building of not being leased. Zero lease on the building. I mean, if you want to make more money on the building, it's just one less dollar that goes to services. So every dollar we pay beyond the cost of ownership of the building is a dollar that doesn't go to services.
How many years out are we talking about to pay it off?
Oh, if you, with the 1.5,
Yeah.
we would do a 25 to 30 lease if you wanted. I mean, we can, I know there's some requirements within our funding that we couldn't be able to do.
Well, my concern is the current building had a plan to continue making those payments even after the building was paid for, but the state changed the rules on us. Would you agree with that?
Correct.
So I would feel more comfortable if the lease payments were expected even after the building was paid for, if it's going to be 25 years in the future. And if at that point, some future board here wants to change that, they can, but they're not locked in. I don't know what 25 years holds.
Right.
So I would,
So yeah, so we could absolutely, I mean, I see what your point is, and we could set up the initial leases, a 25-year lease, and with option to renew.
right.
Right.
Okay. And then secondly, just point of clarification, did you say 1966 this board took some action?
That's when Montcalm Community Mental Health was created.
In 66? Because the Board of Commissioners didn't even happen until 68,
1966,
1968.
Montcalm Care Network was 50 years old a few years back. Did I get the wrong date? I'd have to get a calculator out.
76 would get you 50, wouldn't it? 86, 96.
74.
74.
Yeah, we already celebrated 50.
72.
There was we got you a plaque for creating. Wherever that is.
I might be wrong on something, but I thought the Board of Commissioners was created in 1968 from the Board of Supervisors.
Oh, so maybe it was Board of Supervisors and created us in 66.
Doesn't matter. I was just wondering what the, anyone else? Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You probably had heard us. We're going to try and vote at our next meeting or meeting in November on the 4 proposals. So
All right, I will
an answer
check
for
my
you.
schedule and see if I can be here as well for
Thank
questions.
you.
It'd be Tuesday, the 12th.
Oh, Doug, are you ready? We'll go a little early, make up for all the times we keep you waiting. Our 4:45 is Doug Geetson with the Director of Building Grounds with a addition to the BVM bid request for us.
So as you see on your agenda request that we sent out bids for an addition on the BVM for office expansion. They're like sardines in there right now. We did send it out to 18 contractors that we emailed it out to. I had 2 contractors actually visit the site, 2 that called me on the phone for some clarifications. We only received those 2 bids from KMF and JBS Contracting. So I don't know how KMF does. I know what JBS does for a living, and they do a good job with metal buildings, but the price difference, I suggested that we go with KMF for the price they have stated there.
And that's all within the budget that EMS had or wanted to spend for the project.
I don't know what they budgeted.
He budgeted 150,000.
150.
Yeah, but he does have plenty of fund balance to cover the rest.
Is he willing to go forward if needed?
I emailed him and sent him the numbers and said, "Do you want me to continue with this process?" And he said, "Yes, please."
Okay.
So he couldn't be here tonight.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I would move to hire KMF Construction to put a 20 by 24 addition on the BVM building for a price not to exceed $176,423,000.
Support. It's been moved and supported. Discussion. I was just looking quick. I can't get where's KMF from?
They're Granville area.
And these pictures, the first one you come to around the backside of the BVM, the addition would go just about where that sign is, where the sign says.
It would go just past the sign as far as extending out. The sign's gonna be redone and put on the other end, probably where the drive's at.
And I know farther ahead, there was another one. So it'll go to the north, I guess, to about where that utility door is.
Just short of that, about 4 feet.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the south corners would pretty much line up. They're going to extend the sidewalk around the addition so that we still have the handicap access from the handicap parking spot.
Any other discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Right.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Deb Ballard, the Equalization Director, to present the 2024 apportionment report. The agenda says 5, but she noted that it's the 2024.
It is the 2024. My mistake. Yeah, that was the first thing I wanted to clarify, that it is in fact the 2024 county apportionment report, not the 2025. My apologies. I'm sorry about that.
We can get over that pretty easy.
That's an easy one.
On our first page, this is the county, township, village operating millages and extra voted millages. On the second page, this shows the Flat River Library, Tamarack Library, and the Greenville DDA. That shows their the millages and the taxable values.
Can we back up quick to the first page and just highlight where it shows the county's operating rolled back?
To the 3.25,
To-
or sorry, 3.2502.
The county allocated?
No, county operating.
Yeah, that's the total of them.
Okay.
Total of the extra voted.
And that was rolled back from what? 4?
No, that's the total of the extra voted millages. So that would be the veterans, the EMS, all of those added together is what that is.
Oh, okay.
Chairman Carr, I think, is asking where it shows the previous operating millage rate to where we rolled back a one mil.
We probably haven't gotten to it yet. Then it's probably subsequent
It's
pages.
it's down like 4 or 5 pages, but
Sorry, I jumped in.
Well, where it has the total county extra voted operating. What was our total last year for those? Do we have that on there? Or is 23's in there? Because I don't have 23 with me. Yeah, I know I don't have the 23 with me. So I don't know what the total of the extra voted was last year. What they all added up to.
I'm not necessarily hung up on the total. I just wanted to see the rolled back rate
The millage reduction fraction.
for the county operating. This board rolled back our county operating.
The 9974.
Nope, they rolled back a 1 mil this
Right.
year.
Okay.
page 34 in your packet.
You already found it.
Yeah, it's 4.29 maximum allowable millage levy, and then our millage requested to be levied is 3.29
For the county.
for the county's operating millage.
Yeah, for what we,
Thank you, Adam.
The two side by side in 9 and 10, 4.29 and 3.29.
Yep.
Very good. That's what I was looking for.
okay.
On page 3 has all of the school millages. There's homestead, operating sinking funds, the building site rates, and the millage or the debt millages. On page 4 is a breakdown of intermediate school rates for operating debit or debt and vocational education. on page 5. So page 5 has all of the millages added together for homestead within or non-homestead within the school districts and within the townships. So different townships have different school millages. So you can go on there and see. You can go to the township and then to your school district to find out what the millage rate for that township area should be. And then page 6 is Reynolds Township fire millage,
Special assessment.
and that's a special assessment.
And that's pretty much all there is to it.
And then the rest of your packet should be the L4029s for the county and all of the local units.
The one page that has the 2024 by township, by school district, that does go on our website and is available to the public.
Is this form that you use when you try and develop a tax revenue number, or is that later in the year?
When I'm doing the budget,
Yeah.
I budget based on what I know. So I did use this this summer. When I'm doing the audit, same thing. I base it on what I know at the time or what
the
we were
most current
supposed to have,
is.
was supposed to have collected, yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Peterson.
so we're just voting on, I mean, basically a report of what happened in 2024, correct? This isn't
The millage
approving
rates.
anything. This is, yeah, we're just voting on your report as we've already approved the millage rates, and this is basically just telling us what that looks like dollar wise, correct?
Yep, this is approving the whole county millage rates.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the 2025 apportionment report as presented.
Sport.
It's been moved and supported, 2024.
Oh, they got me.
To approve the 2024 apportionment report as presented. Discussion. If there's no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Up next is correspondence. Commissioner Peterson is filling in for Vice Chairman Mahar. Commissioner Peterson, please.
All right. First up, PA 116 farmland agreements. If you recall, we handle these now because we abolished the planning commission. Starts on page 90. If you look, Andy K. Ross in Evergreen Township. Looks like we have 6 parcels of property there totaling around 200 acres or so. Asking to put that into PA 116. It's just, for those that don't know, PA 116 is a Farmland and Open Space Preservation Act. Gives you a little break on your taxes. Does anybody have any questions, comments, and concerns? If not, I would move to approve the PA 116 for Andy Ross in Evergreen Township as presented.
It's been moved and supported. Discussion. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, next up, Veterans Affairs wants to purchase 100 Meyer food cards, and it would cost the amount of $20,000. That is using unmet needs line item. There is an MVAA grant that will reimburse the purchase in full on a quarterly basis based on cards used. Trevor is in the audience. This is something we've done regularly, correct? Yeah. So if anybody's got any questions, I would direct them towards Trevor. But if not, I would move to approve the MCVA director to purchase Meyer food cards and accept reimbursement from the 2025 MVAA County Service Fund Grant in the amount not to exceed $20,000.
Support. It's been moved and supported to allow the Veterans Affairs Director to purchase Meyer food cards and accept reimbursement from 2025 MBA County Service Fund Grant, the amount not to exceed $20,000. Discussion. While Trevor is here in the audience, Trevor, is there any reason that they all have to be Meyer cards? There's a pretty good sized grocery store in my town and also in Stanton.
Actually, we've had those chains actually, private citizens go and buy cards there, drop them off our office. We do utilize those too. Michigan Veteran Affairs Agency is in an agreement with Meyer
I see.
Corporation. And so essentially, Michigan Veteran Affairs Agency gets a tracker of essentially who we give the cards to. They can't track last names, but it's usually a first name and last initial with their address, so they can prove that they're a county citizen.
So trying to buy 50 from Meyer and 50 from Leppinks isn't able to happen under this grant
I
then.
can look into that.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Next up is warrant reports. Warrant number 10172024 in the amount of $79,039.62. Warrant report 10242024 in the amount of $278,099.27. And warrant report number 10282024 in the amount of $557,125.61 for a grand total of $914,264.50. If anybody has any questions or comments on the warrant reports, now would be the time to ask them. If not, I would move to approve the warrant reports as presented.
Support. Been moved and supported to approve the 3 warrant reports as presented totaling $914,264.50. Discussion. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, items 6 through 13 is your consent agenda. If nobody has any questions on that, I would move to place them on file.
Support. It's been moved and supported to place items 6 through 13 of the consent agenda on file. Discussion. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And the rest is for your information and resolutions from other counties. If nobody has anything on that, that would be your correspondence for today.
Thank you, Commissioner Peterson, for
You're welcome.
stepping in. Up next is committee reports. We don't have any. After that is new business, item 1, clerk correspondence.
No, new correspondence.
Number 2 is controller correspondence.
Just wanted to point out that Parks tour packet on your desk, see if anybody had any questions.
How
Doug left, but,
did you go that day and take the picture?
yep, I took the pictures. Doug did the driving.
Stuff look good?
Yeah, everything looks good. Looked nice.
Good. All right, that all?
Yep, that's all I got.
Number 3, chair or board correspondence. I don't have anything to share. Anything from the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Peterson.
one thing I think we need to address is former Deputy Thomas's request. I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. The only problem I have with all of this is we're getting conflicting stories, and I don't understand why. We've been shown that Mr. Thomas has been issued a retiree card, retiring in good standing for the past 4 years. The way I understand it, it's been issued 2 different times for 1 year and 1 time for 2 years. The only problem I have with that is we've received a letter saying that he was let go by the sheriff. I don't understand who is telling the truth and who's not. I don't see any reason to lie about it either way, on either side of it. But why is it that we can't put this to rest, I guess? What good is it for the sheriff to say he retired in good standing and then send us a letter that he was fired? It doesn't make any sense to me. What do we do in this situation outside of, well, sorry, that's just what the sheriff says?
My opinion is that's exactly what we do in this situation, is stay out of it. It's the sheriff's department. It's a decision that he made. It's an employee of the sheriff's. I think we'd be completely out of line to come sledding in after the fact and give Mr. Thomas a accommodation certificate or whatever it is that he was asking for when the sheriff is clearly denying it. And I have no idea why, but that's where it's not our business. The sheriff's an elected official. We don't.
And I agree with you. I'm not trying to advocate for the board to step in and do something. I'm simply wondering why the sheriff has issued retirement cards to Mr. Thomas, but has also sent us a letter that said he was fired.
Yeah, I don't understand it either, but that's, I guess, my stance on it is the sheriff will have to figure that out. He'll have to answer for it. He's an elected official.
But answer to who?
Well, whoever wants to challenge him into answering the question, I guess. But I just don't think it's our place to wade into the middle of that and rough him up and ask him for clarification.
We can't ask him for clarification?
I think we can ask him, but I just don't agree that it's the right move for us to make. He's an elected official. He can get elected or get unelected, but it's not our place to.
So knowing that we have an elected official that is issuing retirement cards, knowing that said employee was fired, he's issuing retirement cards for retiring in good standings, and knowing that he was let go by his own admission, by the sheriff's own admission, we just sit back and say, well, we'll let the sheriff deal with it.
For me,
I mean, what do we do here? I guess I don't understand what.
I don't think that's what my point is. I don't think there's anything for us to do. There's no percentages in us getting in the middle of this. The sheriff is an elected official that has to answer to the voters, and he made a decision. He can explain the details of it. It doesn't have to be us getting in the middle of the playground battle and trying to figure out who's right or who's wrong.
I guess the bigger issue here for me is the fact that we have a sheriff issuing retirement cards, knowing that he fired an employee. Where does that, what line does that flirt with when it's constituting lying?
My position is still the same.
I get it. It's just, it's
and
unfortunate.
I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just giving you my opinion. There's 7 of us here. Everyone can weigh in whatever the majority is or where we want to go. I was just first to express what my opinion is, or second. You had yours and I expressed mine. There's 2 out of the 7, I guess. So if there's something that the board feels like we need to do as a majority, then I'm all ears. But that was my sense.
I'm assuming no one else has an opinion on this.
Commissioner Chair,
Go ahead.
I agree we should stay out of it. I don't see the harm in maybe issuing something from our board, just thanking him for his service of years to this county, put his life on the line. I don't think it does anything to the sheriff. I just don't think he'll take it that way. it's not the same thing. It's going to be just an appreciation letter, basically. The plaque he's getting has an opening on the side, and he just wants to fill it with something from his employer. So.
Mr. Chair, is there a way that we can do something similar to what Mr. Painter's talking about, and without a bad look towards the sheriff? Maybe not acknowledge. I mean, obviously, he was an employee of the sheriff's department, not of the Board of Commissioners. I think that we need to find a way to resolve this so that this gentleman can have peace with it. I understand very much where you're coming from. I don't know if this is a Board of Commissioners place, but we have a voter here that also has a complaint. And I think that we need to be able to somehow resolve it.
Anyone else?
I just wish there's a way to get to the bottom of it and just figure it out and be done with it in one way or another. I don't know how that is, you know.
I think it's simple. The sheriff just needs to tell us why he issued a retiree card to somebody that he fired. It's not, there's no wishing. That's the answer. There's no two ways around it. I think in any scenario, something like this happens in a private workforce, heads are rolling. But we just say, well, he's an elected official. He gets to do what he wants. Nobody can hold his feet to the fire because he's an elected official. Again, I don't care about the issue itself as far as if he doesn't want to issue it, that's fine. That's his choice. That's his call. Great. But to issue a retirement card when you know you fired someone is a lie, period. End of story. So why do it and then not answer a question about it? That's just baffling to me. But I'm sure there'll be some very colorful answer on, you know, he was busy and I don't know. It'll be the same song and dance as everything else.
Was there some action you want to take?
I mean, there's not really any action we can take. What can we do? Write a letter from the board that says, hey, why'd you do this? As to your point, he's an elected official. He doesn't have to answer it. Only person he answers to is the voters.
Well, if someone has a motion or a suggestion, I'm open to hear it. I don't know what that might be, but. If not, I guess we're moving on. We were on chair board correspondence. Is there anyone else with the board correspondence?
Do I have a chance to speak again or no?
Sure.
Okay. I've been made aware that we lost our Commission on Aging director 2 weeks ago this Friday. I'm not impressed with the way that it happened. I believe that the board being in charge of hiring directors, they should be at least looped into the firing of the directors. And everybody on this board, to my knowledge, had no idea that our Commission on Aging director was doing anything wrong, for one, and was going to be fired for 2. So I believe we need to take steps in correcting that process. I don't know what that looks like, but reviewing our policy manual, there's no parameters for firing. It's just at the whim of the controller. I don't believe that is I don't believe that's an efficient process. If it takes 7 people to hire someone, I believe that it should take at least more than 1 to fire them. There needs to be some sort of checks and balances there. And as far as firing directors, it's up to 1 person. And again, I don't want this to come across as I'm questioning Brenda's judgment, but a text message briefly after said person was fired is not sufficient enough warning to the board that a director in our county is going to be fired. I don't believe. Maybe I'm all wet on this, but I believe that the board has 1 employee that they oversee, and that is the controller. And if that employee is going to fire one that they supervise, it should at least be talked about in a phone call with the chairman, and a phone call with the vice chairman, and a phone call with anyone on the board before it happens, especially if there was a month-long investigation or whatever. I'm not trying to micromanage. I just think that we need to know these things are going to happen. Hey, I'm looking into this just so you guys know. Hey, I'm thinking about making a move just so you guys know. Not, hey, this person has been fired. That's not correct in my mind. I might be wrong. Sounds like I'm batting 0 for right now. But I was taken aback as everybody else on this board. I believe I haven't talked to a couple, but there has to be something different there. We've gone through this before, and I didn't think this was going to be an issue again, but I believe this is an issue. But again, if the rest of the board doesn't feel the same way, I've said my piece and I can move on with it.
I think the county labor councils advised us not to discuss this in an open session, that it's still an investigation. And I've spoken with Brenda about that late last week, and the timing of this, I think, works best with her performance evaluation that's pending. It's unfortunate that Commissioner Mahar, Vice Chairman Mahar, isn't here tonight to follow through with that, but I think we'd be well advised to wait till we do her performance evaluation to talk about the policy change in this case.
I could bat for the Tigers. I guess that's all I have.
Anyone else? Board correspondence.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Baker.
this morning, I was at West Michigan Works, and we discussed a lot of things, but they gave me 5 community impact reports on things like agribusiness, construction, and so forth. They're informative reports. They're pamphlets. I'm going to leave them in the office so anybody can check them out or look at them or whatever. You may have seen them before, you may not have, but interesting stuff. Tells what happens down there. Then this afternoon, when I was at AAA Michigan, I got some more information, little pamphlets that says, what is Area Agency on Aging? Who is AAA West Michigan? Everybody has that question presented to them once in a while. Well, I have the answers right here, so take one, review it, and answer questions if somebody asks you.
Thank you.
And that's my correspondence for the day.
Anyone else? If there's no other board correspondence, up next is old business. We don't have anything. Public comments.
Thomas, Macon Township. Thank you, Commissioner Peterson, Painter, Murray, and Johnson for at least discussing this. I appreciate it. As the sheriff said, I'm a tenacious investigator, so I reviewed absolutely everything that came to policy and procedure that the county issues and also the union contract. Union contract, the only section that covers disability retirement within the contract, which is also the contract that the Board of Commissioners signed. There's a retirement section under disability retirement, non-duty, and the eligibility requirement, which is 10 or more years of service, which I had 13, under the age of 60, which is obvious, and the medical evidence that the employee is probably permanently unable to perform usual duties for the employer. The sheriff stated in his memo that I was unable to be gainfully employed due to my injuries. He also states that he understands my disability is permanent. I'm asking where the policy or procedure or union contract section is that alludes to that I should have been listed as terminated, or that I didn't qualify for a non-duty disability retirement. As Mr. Peterson states, the sheriff has issued me a retirement ID 3 times. And at the very beginning of my retirement, I was before you, and nobody, including HR or the county controller, brought up this memo during those meetings. It was not brought up to the news. It was not brought up to me or my union. So for it to miraculously appear after 5 years that all of a sudden now I'm terminated, I'm kind of curious on why it has not come up over 5 years. The other thing I'm requesting is that besides my retirement certificate, is that the termination memo that is in my file, both in the Sheriff's Department and HR, I'm requesting it to be expunged. There in the termination file within the union contract, a list of the grievances or the discipline that I have violated must be in the form, which is not. There is nothing in the subsections that list why I was terminated, except for the fact under ADA that I'm permanently disabled, which I believe is against the law. Again, all I'm requesting is a simple piece of paper, as Mr. Adams said, that costs a couple cents and 3 minutes of your time. I'm not asking for special treatment, because every deputy that retired after me or actually resigned, which is a quit, was issued a certificate of retirement. I'm extremely curious on if their paperwork or their status form that I received by email from HR states that any of them employees were terminated or if they resigned. It's a simple issue of right or wrong. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
I would move to adjourn.
Support. It's been moved and supported to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
You support that?